Hello, guys. Welcome back to Simply Thinking Podcast. This is episode number 12. And this podcast is brought to you in part by Enoch's Heating and Air and Confidence Barbershop. Man, here we are, episode number 12. It's getting close to just about a month since I haven't recorded anything. And I definitely want to address that with you guys as to why some of you have reached out to me and said, hey, bro, like, what's going on? So I really want to address that. And as we all know, right now in the world, we're going through something very crazy with this pandemic. And I don't want to talk too much about that because, for those who follow me on Instagram know that I'm really fed up with hearing anything about COVID-19, even though I understand it's a very real thing and a lot of people are being affected by it, unfortunately. But I'm not going to be one who wants to ride the wave. But it's been very difficult for a lot of people. And one thing that I've seen is, everybody is handling this very differently. And it's crazy. Just, you have some people who aren't taking this seriously. And then you have some people who are in the middle of it, who are being affected by it, whether they're infected or they have a family member or a friend. And unfortunately, some people losing. And so there's grief, there's sorrow. And then you have your people who are really careful, who are trying to do their best to, practice social distancing, washing their hands, all that stuff, And, there's some people who are depressed right now. There's some people who are experiencing crazy anxiety. So again, everybody is handling this very differently. So how have I been handling it? Well, here we go. I know I have addressed before in the podcast that, I've dealt with anxiety before. And last year was the first time that I felt like I had it under control. I felt like, okay, cool. I'm not so anxious anymore. I started to talk. Well, when this started back, last month when they did the shelter in place here in California, just, seeing the reality of it and just being scared. And scared, not just so much for myself, but more scared for, like, my parents, who are up in age. My mom has asthma. Worried about them. And, of course, worried about, my family, my friends. That was just something that really overwhelmed me. And I did get scared for myself because I think a lot of us felt this, is that last month, my allergies started kicking in, and that was scary. Now, I know one of the symptoms they say about COVID is you can't breathe. So then I started having problems breathing, and it scared the heck out of me. I was like, oh gosh, is this Rona? Rona got me. I was like, oh my gosh, Rona has me now. But and then I started to feel a slight fever. So I didn't go to work. It was on a Friday. I didn't go to work. I stayed in my room for 3 days and just was kind of monitoring my body. But no, I felt good after like the first day. But yeah, my anxiety kicks in. Like, for example, right now, my nose is stuffy. There's times where my eyes have gotten watery. The other day I did get scared because it got windy here in Fresno. And I started to cough and I was like, oh gosh, it's Rona. It's Rona. But it wasn't. It was just my allergy. So, but still, going back to my anxiety, I started to feel very anxious. And this is hard to admit, but I also started to feel insomnia. I had trouble sleeping at night, and that's very tough. That's your immune system takes a hit when you can't sleep, and when you suffer from insomnia, like I've had before, and now it just that worries me because I'm trying to do things to care for my my body, my immune system. As some of you know, I've gotten it on and off. I've fallen off the boat because I know I had a conversation with a friend of mine the other day. He asked me if I was still vegan. I said I'm trying. It's hard being vegan and being Mexican because 99% of our food is not plant based. It's a lot of good stuff that isn't really healthy for you. So I've bounced back, on and off between being vegan and not because it's, again, we're Mexican and it's very difficult. But, I am trying and really trying to stick to being vegan to care for myself. But yeah, it's crazy. So just not being able to sleep and having anxiety. And this is actually the first week since the shelter in place started here in California that I feel normal. I feel calm. I'm starting to think clearly now. I'm not so afraid. And like I said, once more, it wasn't necessarily afraid for myself. It's afraid for my family. But yeah, I'm not so anxious anymore. I feel really normal. The only thing that does suck, and I think a lot of people are experiencing this, and I know I know this is very small compared to what other people are going through because, losing friends or family members to the virus, but just not being able to be around my parents hurts. Not being able to be around my siblings and my brother's little girls, not being able to see them, has really hurt. I think that's what has been hurting the most, is not being able to be around them. Obviously, I haven't really been around my parents. I only went over once, about like a week ago. No, more than a week ago, and I finally saw them, and it felt so good, and I wanted to hug them, but don't want to risk it, playing it safe, and wanting to be able to see my little Mila and my little Luna, which is my brother's daughters, and that's been very difficult, not being able to be around my family. And our family is very close. We hang out a lot. We spend a lot of time with each other, especially on the weekends. So not being able to see them has really been tough. So yeah, that's how I've really dealt with what's going on. It's just feeling anxious and just feeling, just feeling overwhelmed. And but like I said, this is the first time since it started, the shelter in place, that I've been starting to feel normal, which is now why I'm recording. And honestly, there was some times where I sat here in the studio and I wanted to record something, but I just didn't have the energy. I just didn't feel to do anything. I just wanted to be holed up in my room, and really it. And that sucks because it got the best of me, but we're here. So that's kind of where I've been, just been filled with anxiety. But we're managing. Now, I do want to answer a question that there's been a good number of people who've been asking me, like, hey, bro, can you make an episode or something as to how to not be so anxious? And I was like, in a way, I kind of chuckled, and thank you so much for everybody who asked that, but I kind of chuckled because I was like, I'm dealing with anxiety, so I don't know how to handle this. But well, I actually started developing little small habits to kind of suppress the anxiety, to not let it completely overwhelm me, even though there was sometimes where I failed. So how have I managed? How can anybody manage dealing with anxiety in a moment like now, or in any, God forbid, if something else happens, how can you remain calm? Well, here you go. Let me tell you what I have been doing, and I hope this helps somebody. One, I have been spending a lot of time in prayer. That has helped me a lot. What I've been doing is I've been sitting on my porch, and on my porch I have these little wood stumps trying to make my house look rustic. So I've been sitting there mostly when I get off of work, and I will sit there, and sometimes I'll put on music, sometimes I won't. I'll sit there and I'll just talk to God. So that has been extremely helpful. I know I shared this in the previous episode, where I felt God comfort me in one moment. So when this first started, everybody started going to the stores and started buying toilet paper, which I still don't understand why people are buying toilet paper. And I had only heard about it in the news, and I hadn't gone to the store, so I hadn't really seen it firsthand. So it was a Friday night. I remember I was just like, it was that first week when they said here in Fresno, to stay in your homes, shelter in place. But I was like, okay, I'm going to go to the grocery store really quick just to buy some stuff. And when I get there, I saw the shelves really empty. And I was like, what? I'm like, man, like, this is actually real. Like, it's not just on the news. It's not fake. People are really panicking. And I started to panic. I started to panic like crazy. And I remember getting to, take my stuff to pay. And I remember just, as the moments went by, just my anxiety started just overwhelming me. And then as I walked outside, I was just like complete panic mode, just complete anxiety to like just took over me. And as I was walking, I felt God remind me of scripture, of one of my favorite passages. And actually, this is the first passage that God ever, uh, this is the first time God ever spoke to me, right? As we Christians say, heard the voice of God. Not an audible thing, but I just felt God speak to me. And it was through Philippians 4:7. And the peace of God that surpasses all understanding will guard your heart and your mind in Christ Jesus. So I think I was like 14 or 15 when I first felt God talk to me. I remember I was in my room, and I remember I was reading it and reading the book of Philippians, and that's actually my favorite book in all of Scripture. It's in my top three, but I can talk about my top three later on. But yeah, the book of Philippians is one of my favorite books. So I was reading that, and I remember I felt God say, "How to stop." And I was like, "Okay." I was like, "Do you understand what you're reading?" And I was like, and I was, just looking. I was like, "No, God, I don't." And I was like, "What are you trying to say?" And I remember I felt God tell me, "Look, Kaido, your mind and your heart are your weakest organs. Give me that, and I will give you a peace that will surpass all understanding." And that's all I felt God say. So now, years later, in the beginning of a pandemic, I felt God talk to me. Now, that's crazy what God does. God always does these little landmarks. God does these little things in time in our lives, and always takes us back to those moments when are going through something. God says, "Do you remember?" So, when I was 14 years old, now at my age now, God still remind me of that. And trust me, there was a lot of times when I was in prayer on my porch, I would just go back and I would remember the parking lot of the store and be like, "Okay, God, you spoke once more. You talked to me about peace. God, please give me peace right now. Give me peace." And I tell you, I would feel such a peace. It felt so good. And I just appreciate that so much, that I was able to spend time with God and talk to him, and just again just have him fill my life with peace. So that's been helpful. Also, there's times where I've sat on my porch and I've turned my phone off. I sit there for about 30 minutes, 45 minutes, and if I'm not praying, I just sit there and just don't think of anything. I just relax, just unwind, and just sit there and just not think of anything and just relax. That's been really helpful. I'm a guy who enjoys silence. I don't enjoy a lot of noise. I really love silence. So being able to sit out there in complete silence has been wonderful for me, because I need that. I need that a lot. Like I said, I really do enjoy just being in complete silence. I don't have a problem with it. I know some people don't like silence. I do. It's so peaceful. It's so calm. But I mean, from being a musician and loving music, I mean, I do love some sort of noise. But for the most part, I love being in complete silence. So that's been really helpful for me, for my peace of mind. And like I mentioned, I love music. I'm a musician. I love lately, well, music has been so God first and foremost, but so crucial to my peace of mind. I've been listening a lot to there's this genre called lo-fi. I love it so much. If you've never heard of it, hit me up, message me. I will send you some crazy playlists from YouTube, or even from Spotify or whatever. And trust me, it's amazing. So I've been listening to a lot of, especially Chill Hop. That's a YouTube channel. I love listening to them. It's really awesome. So that has been really helpful for me. And of course, listening to calming music like from Hans Zimmer and so forth. And it's mostly been just, of course, some worship music. I put it on. But for the most part, it's been just listening to lo-fi. And that has been really helpful for me. Another thing is staying away from the media. It's because I would notice that every time I would like read or watch anything, I would just feel my anxiety creep up. And so just staying away from the media has been really helpful for me. I'm not trying to get political here, but it doesn't matter. Media, all just straight, all of it, just completely get off of it. Because, it's become a political issue and so forth. And it's, from both sides, and everybody's trying to speak the loudest, and it feels like it's just fear mongering. And it's frustrating. A lot of bickering. It's just ridiculous. So staying away from the media has really helped me out a lot. And also, I disconnected from Facebook for a bit just because I felt like it was like just doom and gloom from the media and from like social media and everybody just posting nothing but negative stuff. And for a guy who has anxiety, and for my friends who, if you're dealing with it, you understand. It's like, when you just the way your mind works when you're dealing with anxiety. So that hasn't been really fun, but like I said, I've tried to stay away from that. So that's been helpful. Let me see what else. Oh yeah, maintaining some sort of communication, and because we're humans, we love to be in community. So still trying to talk to people, and still that's been really helpful. And I'm so grateful for everybody who has reached out to me. And that's why I did say on one of my posts, if you're not following me, you can follow me at Simplythinkingpodcasting. I posted a picture and and I said, look, guys, I'm dealing with anxiety. Please, if you have friends who are anxious, reach out to them. They need you right now, big time. They need you. Give them a call. Shoot them a text. Check up on them. They really do need you. And this is one thing that hurt me. It hurt my heart, because not just from what's happening in America and in the world, but just it hit close to home. I was reading the other day how the suicide hotline numbers just been blowing up. There's people who are suicidal right now, and that sucks. But I have two friends of mine who are feeling suicidal right now. They lost their jobs. They're anxious. It's a tough time for them. So that has been, something that hit close to home. So please, if you have any friends who are dealing with anxiety or feeling suicidal, reach out to them. Like, they need you big time. I can't not stop saying that. So again, thank you for everybody who has reached out to me, who has made me still feel like there's that community there. And I've done my best, even though regardless of how I felt, to try to reach out to friends and say, guys, like, how are you doing? How's it going? How's your family? How's your mind? Let's talk. So I've tried to still keep that going. So I'm trying to think what else. Oh, I've been trying to read more. So that has been really helpful, even though I know I'm talking a lot about anxiety, but let me tell you what happens in the mind of someone who deals with it. It's kind of hard to read when you're just clouded with so much stuff. So that's been difficult for me to read, but I've still managed to somehow read a little bit here and there. Oh, also, someone recommended this to me, and that has been helpful. It's I've been watching a lot of stand-up comedy. That's been helpful, because it's true what they say, that laughter is the best medicine. There's times where just watching something funny just has lifted my spirits, and that has been so rewarding. So that's been really helpful. Just watching some stand-up. Thank God for Netflix, right? But also, I've just been watching The Office like crazy, and Parks and Recreation, and of course a lot of stand-up. So that's been really, really cool. And also been watching a lot of Neil deGrasse Tyson. If you know me, I'm a huge fan because I love astrophysics. Anything outer space, I'm a huge fan of. So yeah, I've been watching a lot of his talks and his lectures. That's been pretty cool. So yeah, like I said, I've been trying to read and listen to music and spend a lot of time in prayer. Spending a lot of time in silence, that helps a lot. And also, what's crazy? I'm not surprised I've lost any weight because I know early on I really didn't feel hungry. It's crazy. I just really didn't feel that much hunger because that's one of them. I don't know. Maybe that's for a while I was like, oh gosh, am I getting depressed? I was like, oh man, it worried me a little bit because I've dealt with depression as well. And I know I sound broken, but trust me, I'm not. God's doing the work. I'm not crazy either. My mother had me tested. So I'm not. But just, yeah, I really started not to feel hungry. Oh, here's another. This one's gonna shock the people who know me. I try not to drink a lot of coffee because I know it's been hard. But I still do, but not as much because if already my mind is just racing a lot. When I drink coffee, it's like my mind on steroids. So I've tried to limit my coffee intake. What I've been doing is doing a lot of teas. Been doing a lot of that. And one thing that's actually I figured out this week that I've been doing every day, and it's been so awesome, is I actually have a orange tree in the back. So what I've been doing is I've been getting orange leaves, and I wash them, and I make tea out of them, and I pair it with some chamomile, little tea bag. And it's, oh my gosh, it's so soothing. It relaxes me because of the chamomile, but then also like the taste of the orange leaves that, make it into a tea. It's amazing. So I've been doing a lot of teas, and especially teas that relax me. So that's been really helpful for me. So it's been hard staying away from coffee, but also just been trying to, again, take care more of my body. Oh, and also this is another thing that I kind of wanted to talk about. And I know I've mentioned this with some of my family and some of my friends, if you look at it, and hopefully I'm not wrong, but this is the last time that I had checked, that the majority of people from both genders that are getting affected by it is mostly men. There's women who are getting it, but it's mostly men who are being affected by this virus and dying from it. And it makes sense because last year was actually the first time where I really went all in as a vegan. And when you look at the majority of groups, the majority of people that die from like cancers, that die from heart complications, that die from like diabetes or anything like that, it's especially heart problems. It's mostly men. It's mostly men who are the ones who are dying from these things. Why? Because us men, let's be real, we don't really take care of ourselves. We really don't. A lot of us men don't like to go to the doctor. Mostly women are the ones who like to take care of themselves a little bit more and go to the doctor. Us men, we don't. We don't do a good job. So how are we going to be able to protect our immune systems if we don't give our bodies the proper nutrition to be able to function correctly? So that has woken up in me once more the need to want to be vegan because I want to take care of myself. So for my brothers out there, and for my sisters as well, we have to do a better job of taking care of our immune system, being able to. And that's one thing I actually was hoping, and I'm still praying that when this is over, I hope that this wakes us up to the idea of just how such a poor of a job here in America we are doing to take care of our bodies. We live in a culture where it's like it's a drive-through, it's fast food, a lot of processed, greasy foods, and it's like that doesn't help us at all. It doesn't. So we have to do a better job of taking care of ourselves. And actually, I'm going to be recording an episode on that soon. So I just want to address that very briefly. That we have to do a better job of taking care of ourselves. I'm trying to think what else. Oh yeah, here we go. I kind of sound all over the place. This is the first time. Well, the first time I'm back. Okay, it feels good. Like I said, I feel normal. So there's a lot of things I've wanted to address and just share. So this is exciting to feel normal once more and to be able to want to talk to everybody and record another episode. This has been really cool. But okay, let me see what else. Oh yeah, so something was brought up to my attention. I did mention this today here on the episode that the media has been so annoying because it's nothing but fear mongering. It's nothing but just death. There's been nothing but just the numbers of people being infected. But you never hear anybody from the media, at least I haven't really seen it or heard it, where they talk about the number of people that are recovering from this. And the recoveries are actually far greater than the amount of people that are dying from this thing. Now, again, it's unfortunate, the people that are dying, but more people are recovering from this. I know a friend of mine firsthand that he recovered from this. It's my friend Edwin Pacheco Jr. from Red Hook from New York. He recovered from it, and thank God for that. So there's more recoveries than there are deaths, but you never hear that in the media. So the other day on Facebook, I wanted to share that because, again, on social media, all you see is just doom and gloom. So I just wanted to give some people some hope. And I said, hey, look, guys, there's more recoveries than there are deaths. Well, there was some people on there that still decided to make negative comments. And it upset me. So I actually got on my Instagram and I threw a huge rant because I was upset. I really was upset because the people that are doom and gloom is not just the media. The media, of course, we expect it from them. But the fact that there are Christians who are choosing to be doom and gloom completely upsets me, because there's a lot of people who are hurting right now. There's a lot of people who are suffering. A lot of people who are uncertain about the future. And last time I checked, the Bible says that we are supposed to be the light in this world. Now, I don't know if it's ever happened to you guys that whenever you're at night in your house and your lights are off, even though you know your way around your house, like especially if you hear a noise and you go out, the first thing you want to do is turn on lights, right? Because the moment you turn on lights, you feel peace because you know where you're going. You know what's there. There's no danger. But when it's in darkness, you're scared. You don't know what's there. You don't know who's there. You don't know what dangers, what threats are there that might, take your life or take your family's life. So when the light turns on, that's when you feel peace. So the church, we're supposed to be ambassadors of peace. We're supposed to be messengers of peace. And how is the church going to do that if we're riding the same wave as the media by being completely doom and gloom? Or there's this group of Christians that I've decided to call them doomsday Christians. They're all about the doom and gloom. And that is just absolutely frustrating because, like I mentioned, I got friends who are feeling suicidal. And I wonder how many more people are being suicidal, who have suicidal thoughts right now. Or unfortunately, hopefully not. There's been people who probably have taken their lives because of this. What is the church doing to reach them if all we're doing is being just like the world in a moment like now? What they need is hope. What they need is peace. And we know that that can only be found in a relationship with Jesus. So if the church isn't doing a good job at addressing that and reaching out to people, if all we're doing again is riding the wave of it, just like the world and just like the media, then we are wasting a perfect opportunity to reach people. When this is over, there's going to be so many broken people, unfortunately, so many people with so many questions, with so much hurt. And the church needs to do something, not then, now. We have to do it now. I know I did make a video on my personal Instagram, and I think on YouTube I shared this where I said, one time they asked Jesus, pretty much help us to understand the law. He said, okay, we love God first and foremost, but then also love your neighbor. Love them. And right now, in order for us to love them, we have to do our part, being wise and not going out. And, and here's also, I'm kind of all over the place, like I said, but, there's certain Christians who are upset because we can't gather in churches right now. And unfortunately, there's still some pastors who are acting not so wise right now, and they're still having church services when they shouldn't. And there was a pastor who got arrested, and I'm like, cool. And there's some preachers here in America, don't want to say any names, but they started saying that this is persecution. I'm like, this is not persecution. This is not persecution. That, what those pastors are doing is what I like to call doing the right thing at the wrong time. This is not a time for us to gather together in churches. This is a time for us to stay home, have church services through Facebook, however, through YouTube, social media. Do that now. This is not the time for it. And the fact that people are screaming persecution, no. Now, I will join with people and scream persecution, and they start saying you have to denounce your faith, denounce Christ. Then yeah, okay. And they start to arrest us because we're a Christian. Then okay, then we can scream persecution. Right now, this isn't that. We have to be wise in the way that we act right now. We have to be very careful because the world is still watching the church. So we have to do a good job. So Alex, I know on the rant that I did, I was very upset. And there was some people that were like, oh, cool stuff, bro. And some people did address and say, hey, like, what's going on? And that wasn't really right the way you did it. So I do want to say sorry to anybody who perhaps got offended by that. I'm completely sorry. after it got addressed to me, I thought about a quote that Ravi Zachariah said, that his mom told him. She said, if you want to get people to come and smell a rose, don't cut their nose off. Because then it's pointless to you to bring them to smell something when they can't, so we can't act harsh. And I, of course, started thinking about, the main verse for apologetics is 1 Peter 3:15. It says, to have an answer ready, but doing, to answer, but doing it with gentleness and kindness, with love. And I did act out of emotion, and that wasn't, even though I was completely upset. But again, I'm sorry for anybody who perhaps that offended, but I'm doing my best. I'm human, and I failed, and I'm trying to own up to that. So yeah, guys, that's just been kind of what I wanted to talk about with you all. Just it's been crazy, and my heart does hurt for the world. It does hurt for what's happening, but this too shall pass, and I feel like the smoke is starting to clear. So we're starting to see things a little bit more clear now, as long as we continue to do our part. I know this weekend is actually going to be, what would be Easter Sunday, and not being able to gather together and take part of that. But, I feel like it's kind of cool at the same time, because hopefully in the intimacy of our homes, we're able to do this and be able to, that this is a moment for us to spend in intimacy with God and remember what He did for us. So yeah, it's crazy, but guys, we will get through this. This too shall pass. And I do got some pretty cool news, so please stay, if you want to stay up to date. I'm going to be posting more, because again, I thank God I still feel normal. I'm starting to feel normal now, and I'm starting to kind of build a rhythm once more. And one thing that I've been I had to talk about this. One thing that I've been doing is I've been writing a lot for the next episodes that I'm going to be doing. I'm actually going to be starting a series that you can watch on YouTube and also listen on the podcast, by audio. I'm going to be talking about pretty much, what do I believe? What is my belief system? Not just with Christianity, but just everything. Like, what is my point of view on, especially, addressing Christianity and addressing just my belief system and what it is and how it's gotten different. I feel like I've evolved and I've grown in my belief systems, and I've hopefully, prayerfully, have matured in what my point of view is now. So please stay tuned for that. I will be making videos like this one now, and I have some wonderful toys to be able to, help me make these things. And of course, these I have this mic right now. This is a mic. I'm going to brag a little bit. This is pretty cool. This is a mic that I've actually wanted for quite a while. It's a Shure SM7B. It's a beauty. I love it. And this is really cool. So I have, like I said, I've had these toys here for a while, and I just didn't feel the energy. Didn't feel like I could do anything, just because of just the way that I felt. But thank you guys so much for your prayers, and I'm praying for every single one of you guys. I'm praying for everybody. I really do try to spend time and pray for the world. And guys, just continue to do our part. Continue to be loving. Continue to just grow and be patient. That's also another thing. I saw someone post this the other day, and it was so true. It's like, you either be patient or become a patient. So I think we know what's best for us right now. It's just to be patient, hold on. This too shall pass, and hopefully we can still stay sane and stay loving and try to be like Christ right now more than ever, because the world is watching us. The world needs Christ more than ever, especially when this is over. They're gonna need Him. There's be a lot of broken people. So guys, thank you so much for staying here and just listening to this. I really do appreciate it. I love you guys so much, and as always, may we all stay simply thinking. Until next time.